Bhagavad Gita, wisdom of the Gita with Lakshmi. Thank you so much for being here. July 22nd. We're still on our vacation, but fortunately I have the opportunity of a nice place to stay here with my friend Anutama in Washington, D.C. area. So we're able to broadcast the class this evening again. So our next destination is my son's second camp in Maryland, and then we'll be back home, back to Boca to see all my beautiful friends there. So let us begin. I want to welcome Jai Krishna, Dominican Republic, and Trish, Gokula, Shihari, and all my friends and family. Angelica, how are you? Welcome to our Gita session
Hi.
today.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. All right, let's begin. We're going to start with the third chapter. We've done extensively the first and second chapters. The first chapter being the setting, introduction to the various personalities of the Gita, and then the setting, where the Gita was spoken on the battlefield, etc., and then the introduction to the dilemma of Arjuna. And that's why the first chapter is called Arjuna Vishada Yoga. Arjuna's distress or despair becomes his yoga. In the second chapter, we spend a good amount of time because it's worth it. That's where Krishna establishes the point that one can become free from the suffering that they're experiencing by virtue of knowledge, transcendental knowledge. And that is the sum and substance of the Bhagavad Gita, to give us the wisdom that we need in order to become free from our suffering condition, because suffering condition is described as being due to ignorance of the fact of who we really are as spirit souls, as eternal knowledgeable beings that are temporarily living within the yantra rudhani maya, which is Sanskrit meaning the machine made of material energy. So that's the second chapter. So the third chapter, let us begin with that, is called Karma Yoga. Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, he talks a lot about yoga, different approaches based on who we are, what our psychophysical nature actually is. And so there is one path, which is called yoga, but this one path can be divided into different sections, and one can focus on a particular aspect of yoga in order to achieve self-realization. For instance, we are emotional beings, devotional beings, we are active beings, we are knowledgeable beings, we have the capacity for knowledge, logic, reason, etc. So analysis, all of these things are there within the human spirit. So yoga has the different yoga systems called Sankhya Yoga, which is the second chapter, the analysis, understanding the difference between matter and spirit. Krishna goes into that extensively in the second chapter. And then there's Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi Yoga means that we're using our intelligence to understand what our responsibility, what our duty is, what our dharma is in this world, and act according to that dharma by virtue of purified intelligence. Karma yoga means action. Karma literally means action, and for every action there's reaction. So action and reaction, karma yoga. And then there is bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga means the yoga of love and devotion. So the yoga of love and devotion, which is described later on from chapters 7 through 9, 7 through 10, actually. No, I'm sorry, 7 through 12. And then, of course, chapter 12 and the 18th chapter, which is the concluding chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, we get more information about bhakti. So let's begin now with chapter 3, which is Karma Yoga. And if anyone has any questions, please don't hesitate to ask so we can have nice dialogue. Okay, so Karma Yoga, chapter 3. Arjuna said, "O Janardhan, O Keshava, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare? If you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work." Gita is a dialogue. It's a dialogue between the Supreme, Krishna, and Arjuna, a very noble warrior, dharmic individual, etc. So throughout the Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge which is delivered to us by Krishna is prompted by Arjuna's questions. Arjuna asks a lot of questions, and Krishna takes the time and the effort to answer those questions. So here is one such question. He's saying, you want me to engage in this ghastly warfare. And that's probably what we are thinking of, or how we are thinking in regards to to the Bhagavad Gita. It is based on a battle between family members for the right to rule the Bharat Empire, which is a vast, vast empire. So the question we may ask is, they are on a battlefield, they're about to kill each other, hundreds of thousands of warriors, which are taking sides, either on the sides of the Pandavas or on the sides of the Kauravas. And it's ghastly warfare. And that's what Arjuna's observation is. He's saying, why do you want to engage me in this ghastly warfare? If you think that intelligence is better than fruitive work. So Krishna talks about intelligence and proper utilization of intelligence in the second chapter. And that is termed Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi means intelligence, and yoga means to link or to connect with the Supreme. So Krishna talks about that Buddhi Yoga, using your intelligence to understand the true nature of our relationship as spirit souls and our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is the question that Arjuna is posing to Krishna. Self-discovery is a journey of a turnaround, not distance. In other words, in relationship to self-discovery of this, of who I actually am, beyond my temporary nature, my temporary designation in this body, white body, black body, brown body, yellow body, red body, whatever the color may be, whatever the designation may be, upadi, it's called. There are many different designations that one can have. So this designation, when we want to know beyond the temporary designation who we are, we embark on our journey. And I know all of you very personally, and I know that you're all very sincere in your efforts on your journey, on your path. In my understanding of who you are and where you are at now, I know that you have a journey. So the journey is described as, the journey of self-discovery is described as a turnaround, not actually walking distance. And what does the turnaround actually mean? It means that we are just beginning to face the reality. What is the reality of our situation? What is the reality of our being in this body? Magellan, Marco Polo, Columbus traveled great distances, but didn't discover the self. Dhruva, Vishvamrita, the six Goswamis, and there are so many examples in the Vedic texts of individuals who engaged in meditation. Dhruva, the 5-year-old prince, who, upon the order an encouragement of his mother, went to the forest and engaged in severe austerities, yogic austerities, and meditation on the holy names Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dhruva, in one place, performing austerities, was able to not travel the distance, but make the turnaround. Vishvamrita, same thing. He engaged many years in self-discovery by sitting under a tree and meditating. The 6 Goswamis sat in Vrindavan, each one of them extremely learned, extremely advanced. Even in the case of Sanatan and Rupa Goswami, of the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, they were successful in life. They had good governmental positions, administrative positions in the government of the Nawab Hussain Shah. So they were wealthy, they were respected, and they had positions in society. So it's not, self-discovery does not mean you have to travel a distance. It means making the turnaround so that you can understand the nature of the self and incorporate that understanding through action. In spiritual life, understanding is incorporated into your life and then comes out in the form of action. If we're practicing yoga, if we're doing so many things, but we're really not incorporating it into our life, then do we really understand? There's jnana, which is knowledge, and there's vijnana, which means there's realization. We are understanding what that knowledge, what direction that knowledge is pointing us in, and we walk in that direction. The Buddha, the great Buddha, said that if you are facing in the right direction, just keep walking. So self-realization, the journey of self-discovery is a turnaround, and to look within, so that we can understand the true nature of the self. So verse 2 reads as follows. Arjuna is opening up. He's saying, my intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. So again, we have in the second chapter, Arjuna makes an admission. And he says, in his admission, he says that, I'm confused about my duty. Please give me some guidance. Please be my teacher. So here, again, he makes the same admission. My intelligence is bewildered by your equivocal instructions. Therefore, please tell me decisively which will be most beneficial for me. So he's asking, makes it sound like action or renunciation? Which one are you talking about? Because there's 2 dimensions of yoga, specifically spoken about in the Bhagavad Gita. The first dimension is, of course, the yoga of renunciation. That's called Jnana Yoga. And Jnana Yoga means I basically see any kind of interaction within the material world as a distraction. And therefore, in order to be free from distraction, I just give up my responsibilities of the material world. We have many instances within the Vedic texts of various personalities who have given up their home, their family, their job, their money, their positions of prestige, and have gone to the Himalayas and engaged in a very renounced lifestyle and focused in on meditation. So this is called, the yoga of renunciation. And it's one aspect of yoga that Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita. The other one is karma yoga. Karma yoga, which is the title of this chapter, means yoga for the active. And the vast majority of society fits into this category. That's why Bhagavad Gita is such an important sacred text for self-discovery, because it is geared towards those who are active in the world and in life. Those people who have family, job, various types of civic responsibilities, etc., but yet have a sincere desire for self-discovery. And I think we all fit into that category. None of us are, on the path of renunciation. Well, all of us are busy in the world, still taking care of our children or our grandchildren, and active in that capacity. So the question that Arjuna is putting to Krishna is, you've spoken about renunciation, you've spoken a little bit about action. Which of the two are you really emphasizing? So that is the question that is being posed to Krishna, and Krishna will answer. Okay, so text 3. I'm a little slow because I still have difficulty. I have a smaller book here. Okay, number 3. Oh no, here it is. I'm sorry. Number 3. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, said, "O sinless Arjuna, I have already explained that there are two classes of men who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical, philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service." So this Krishna is confirming what I just said. He's breaking it down into two categories of approach in yoga system. And in those categories, overall categories of those who have renounced, and they use in their renunciation, they use empiricism and philosophical speculation as the tools for self-discovery, or those that are active. Now, those that are active are involved in karma yoga or bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga and karma yoga are different, but very alike. Bhakti yoga means all that I do, I'm totally doing this as an offering to Krishna, to the Supreme. Karma yoga means I may have some desires to enjoy in this world, but I realize that there may be something more profound in terms of utilization of my life in this world. So in this, Krishna is confirming that. Two classes of people who try to realize the self. Some are inclined to understand it by empirical philosophical speculation, and others by devotional service. So this is, Krishna begins to explain throughout the Gita as we progress in the chapters, about philosophical speculation, empirical understanding, performance of activities like sacrifice and giving in charity, etc., all the aspects of karma yoga. So he will respond to Arjuna, not by merely abstaining from work can one achieve freedom from reaction, nor by renunciation alone can one attain perfection. So Krishna is responding right here. Not by merely abstaining from work. So if you're just renouncing your responsibilities, and I've seen this in my travels, in my the course of my journey of self-discovery, I've seen people renounce, but it was an artificial renunciation. Renunciation really means, the definition of renunciation that's given to us by Rupa Goswami and the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is freedom from possessiveness. And that's why Krishna emphasizes to Arjuna that you work. In the second chapter, he says, you have the right to work. And that is your right, that is your duty. But the results, to enjoy the results of your work, that is not beneficial for self-discovery. However, if you see it differently, if you see it in that you work, you get results, and those results are your offering in gratitude and appreciation to the Supreme for all that he's blessed us with, then that becomes a whole different mindset and a whole different story. So this is what Krishna is saying, that, and he's addressing it this way. Why? What was Arjuna's proposal early on? He wanted to walk away from his duty, from his responsibility. Remember, he was in the first chapter. He was, in his battle armor, armed with his bow, the Gandiva bow, and other weapons, seated in his war chariot. And Krishna was driving the chariot, and he was commander in chief of the army, and he pulls his chariot in front of the Kuru dynasty, the Kuru army, so that he can assess exactly what formations to use, and to see the strength of the enemy, et cetera, et cetera. So he was fully ready to do battle at that point. Otherwise, why would he be in his battle armor? Why would he be on his war chariot? And why would he be there to assess the strength of his enemies? He sees it that way. But there is, when attachment, like, you can get sick, all of a sudden you're healthy, and all of a sudden you start feeling symptoms, right? You may have gone out in the rain, gotten all wet, or in the cold, and then you start getting symptoms. You start sneezing, you start getting a sore throat, or you start coughing, or whatever. You start getting symptoms of being diseased, having some kind of illness. So Arjuna was healthy, did his duty. He's responsible commander in chief. He wants to see his enemy. But then he starts getting weakness of heart, all the different symptoms. What are those symptoms? The symptoms that manifest in the form of compassion. Oh, I don't want to kill my friends and my relatives. They manifest in the form of concern about sinful life, committing a sin activity. So he has certain realizations that are there that he expresses to Krishna, but these expressions are more based on attachment. And this is what happens when we become attached to someone or something. We may start seeing from a different perspective that spiritually is not the best thing for us in terms of our progress. So Arjuna manifests these symptoms, and these symptoms actually to Arjuna, were kind of manifestations of a realization that was, filled with compassion and filled with clear understanding, of how to act in life, to act free from sin, to act, free from causing distress to others. So he may have, thought of his perspective as, being clear, but it obviously was not a clear perspective. And born of those attachments, what happened as a result of his attachments? He was willing to give up his duty. And it was clearly only because of his attachments. He knew he was going to fight. He went to the battlefield of Kurukshetra to fight. They tried their diplomacy. They tried every way to fulfill their duty, their dharma as warriors, as protectors of society. But the cousins did not comply. They did not see in that way. the cousins, the Duryodhana and his brothers, saw it as, no, this is mine, and due to their attachment. Duryodhana's attachment to be the future emperor of this vast nation. So he could not, out of his attachment, he couldn't see clearly at all. And what's the distinction between Arjuna, who became attached, and Duryodhana, who was attached? What's the distinction between the two of them? Arjuna realized that he was not going to act according to his duty, and he wasn't clear about that, about what he should really do. Should he really engage in this warfare, even though he came up with so many moralistic reasons as to why not engage in this warfare? Or should he renounce? Should he go away, or should he do it? Arjuna was willing to take an honest look at himself, because it is honesty is very, very important when we are involved in self-discovery. It is what matters most. Honesty. Most essential things in life are invisible. So honesty doesn't mean that we live according to the illusion. But most important things of life, we recognize important things, and even though they may not be clear, we cannot clearly see them. They may be invisible to us. But what are important things in our life that are not visible, yet we prioritize? Breath. Is breath visible? But look how important it is to us. Is life force invisible? Yeah. It's what generates motivation of the body. Love is an invisible. The soul is invisible, and God are invisible. These are all important dimensions of our life which are not visible. So it's not justifiable to say, okay, I can see that if I do this, I'm going to commit sin, or if I kill, that's not a good thing. So those things may be more visible and more tangible, but it doesn't mean they are more valid than prioritizing things that are very, very sacred to us, like breath, life force, the God, the supreme, the soul, love. We prioritize those even though we cannot see them. So in order to really recognize and live a life of truth, a life of honesty, one of the most important attributes of being successful on your journey of self-discovery is honesty. If we are not honest, then what happens is we deceive ourselves, and then we begin to promote that self-deception. So honesty is really an important aspect. We have to understand that. For instance, when we are seriously engaged on our path of bhakti, it's a whole procedure. Bhakti yoga has a procedure. Guru Pada Ashraya, Rupa Goswami says, is the first and foremost aspect of engaging in bhakti. And what is that? Taking shelter of someone pure in knowledge that can lighten or enlighten our path. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurum Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. That our path, which is darkened by ignorance, can be illuminated by that personality who is realized, self-realized. That's the first and foremost principle. And in order to understand that, one has to realize that I'm beginning to show, or I am showing, or I'm really chronically ill. It's not a question of just recognizing symptoms of a disease. That's good and that's important. But to be so honest with oneself to say, I'm chronically ill. I'm chronically attached to possessions and a self-centered perspective of life, which causes selfishness. So we have to be honest with ourselves. And even I've seen people who are on the path of self-realization, self-discovery, and they take to the process of bhakti yoga very seriously, and they embrace the first principle that Rupa Goswami talks about, Guru Pada Ashraya, seeking out someone who is pure and knowledgeable and can enlighten our path. Then they get into practicing. They even get initiated, make vows, and then discard those vows, either very quickly or in the due course of time. We become lazy or weary or influenced by Rajagun, the need to satisfy my senses. And then when that happens, it becomes more important to perpetuate my image as a practitioner of bhakti yoga than it is to be honest and to be clear with oneself and not to just perpetuate a deception upon my mind and the minds of others. What becomes tantamount in terms of importance is to live an honest life on my journey of self-discovery. That becomes really important. So this principle of honesty helps us to maintain our determination in yoga, because yoga offers purification of body, purification of mind, purification of intellect, ego, and ultimately the self. This purification causes inspiration. We know that the process, the sadhana that we were performing, the process that we're engaged in, we know if it's genuine and having success, because purification, it means we're going to be purified if we're doing something right. I remember once I spoke with my nephew. He is a personal fitness trainer, and I was asking him about different exercises and things like that. And one of the exercises I was talking about was the push-up, because I'm big into push-ups. I hurt my shoulder, so I can't do them until my shoulder gets better. But I was big into push-ups. I used to do 100 a day. And I asked him, what's the key, in gaining maximum benefit in push-ups? And he said, doing it right. Not the number. The number is not the point. Oh, 100 push-ups a day. Wow, that's great. That's not the point. The point is doing it right. And then you experience the maximum benefit to that action, the push-up. Similarly, in bhakti yoga, when we were practicing bhakti yoga, it is not just that we make a show of the actions of bhakti, which is chanting, association with others like-minded, and performing the process of bhakti yoga. Swadhyaya, not just studying sacred texts so that you can appear learned. Various rituals within bhakti yoga, like deity worship. It's not that we just, wave the lamp and fan the peacock fan. No, that we actually do these with a mindfulness, with a consciousness that it is my good fortune and my opportunity to advance on this practice of bhakti so that my journey and my self-realization becomes a real thing, a tangible thing. And what is the proof of the purification is inspiration. When one is effectively practicing their sadhana within the tenets of bhakti yoga, one of the things that you can understand is you're inspired. You're inspired to chant. You're inspired to seek out association with those who are advanced in the practice of bhakti yoga that you want to perfect so that you can become self-realized. You can understand your nature and your service to the Supreme. So this is a very important principle that we behave in this manner, in an honest manner, so that we can make tangible steps, progressions on our path. It's described in Bhakti. Bhakti is like an airplane. You've all probably been, on an airplane, a jet, and traveled to one part of the world or another. You realize when you first are taking off, right? You're going it seems like, you're being pushed back in the seat. It seems like you're going very, very fast. But the higher you get, the slower it appears that you're going. When you look down on the land, it doesn't appear to be moving very fast. But when you were close to the ground, it was moving very fast and you were, pushed back in your seat, etc. So when we start our practice of bhakti, it's like that. When we start off, well, we may be very excited and, doing so many things, et cetera, et cetera. And it seems like we're making a lot of advancement. And then as we continue with the process, what happens is things seem to slow down. Doesn't seem like you're making as rapid advancement as you were making. And you start to feel a little discouraged, and maybe so much so that you start not performing your sadhana in a very effective manner or at all, or you may be cheating on it, not doing all your rounds or not doing your japa meditation attentively. All of these, or making excuses why you don't get association with advanced people in the Bhakti Yoga tradition, advanced devotees. So many things arise. The ability to continue to deceive oneself, to be dishonest with oneself, grows stronger. So one good telltale result of purification by performing your bhakti yoga practice is inspiration. You feel inspired. You feel inspired to wake up in the morning, early in the morning. You feel inspired to do your meditation. When you have an opportunity for Sangha, you're inspired to do that. You look forward to it. It's the highlight of your week. All of these different aspects of your sadhana and your practice, you're actually inspired to do that. And the more purified the heart becomes, the stronger and more prevalent the inspiration is. We have to be very, very careful. If we are sincere in self-discovery, we have to be very, very careful of complacency, laziness that will take over. Becoming expert at developing excuses as to why you're not performing your sadhana in the most effective, mindful way. It can happen to the best of us, whether one is performing their sadhana 50 years or 5 years or 5 days. The danger of this complacency is real, and we have to be mindful of it. And the only way we can be mindful of it is if we're honest with ourselves. If we are doing meditation and we're falling asleep, and we continue to do that during the whole meditation, we just fall asleep. Well, inattentiveness is the cause of being, your progress being slowed up. And that's a key word in bhakti: progress. Progress. The comparison is a rocket. What happens when a rocket blasts off? What does the rocket have to do in order to break the Earth's atmosphere? The rocket has to progress, continually progress, right? Till finally it comes to a point where it can break free from the Earth's gravitational pull. In bhakti, it's the same thing. Maya, or illusion, is very strong, and she has a very keen grasp on us. So in order to break free from Maya's grasp, illusory grasp on us, that progress in our sadhana, in our practice, has to be real, and it has to be consistent. And as I said before, you may not see, after you've been practicing for a while, it may not seem like you're making much advancement, but the reality is what happens in a journey on a jet. You may seem like you're going slower, but eventually you'll come to the destination. And when you come to the destination and you're landing, everything happens very quickly again. So when we are doing our sadhana, our practice, we may become a little demoralized. Oh, I'm not making so much advancement, but yet we persist. We persist. And one of the symptoms of advancement is humility. That's another symptom of purification, is humility. So humility does not allow you to see your advancement. When one sees that they're humble, oh, I'm so humble, then humility is not there, really. That's just the mirage of humility. Because humility, genuine humility, you don't see that way. You see, like, it's not low self-esteem, but you see, like, I have miles to go before I sleep. That's the way you see. I'm trying, I'm making the endeavor, but still, I have miles to go before I sleep. In that humble state of mind, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, over 500 years ago, he wrote 8 prayers. And one of the key prayers, which indicate to us how we can be persistent in the process of self-realization, he says, the first thing he says is humility. Second thing he says is tolerance. Third thing is, we're not doing our spiritual activities for recognition. Because, people who practice become popular. If they are truly and learn it wise in spiritual philosophy, they become popular. And that popularity, that's not what we're seeking. That popularity can be, something that really is a trap. Recognition of spiritual advancement. And then you begin to buy into that. Oh yeah, I am spiritually advanced. And there's a kind of an arrogance that develops, etc. And it causes us immediately to have difficulties. So these are all points to understand, in terms of our advancement. Inspiration comes from purification. The inspiration will be the cause, the motivation to perform our activities. Just like, attending a Bhagavad Gita class every Tuesday night. When you think about it, it's 1 hour, 7 to 8 on Tuesday evenings. And to consist, and I'm sure you've wrestled with your schedule and so many things. But I see some of you, regardless of what your schedule is, you persist, you continually come. It doesn't matter. That means somewhere in your heart, there's some inspiration that is causing the motivation for you to continue taking your steps on your journey of self-discovery. And that's wonderful. And for that, you should be thankful, because that inspiration, that continued source of inspiration, is coming by the mercy of the Supreme. Because Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of grace. It's not something that you mechanically develop. Like if I keep practicing an asana and eventually I develop, the ability to perform that asana. Bhakti Yoga, the only way that you can continue, persist with determination in your sadhana is that you are a recipient of the grace of the Supreme, and that causes your inspiration. It's the only way in bhakti. Because bhakti, we cannot connect in loving relationship with the Supreme unless he allows it. He allows us to enter into that loving realm. Without that permission, without that invitation, we can't enter into that loving relationship with the Supreme. So this is important. So text 5, see what we can speak about here a little bit. Let's go on. Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Always remind yourself, in order for philosophical points to stick, what is Krishna saying here? Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Those are the gunas that we've spoken about several times in the course of our classes. Sattva gun, or goodness, which is characterized by knowledge, by clarity, by purification of the heart, by inspiration. Rajagun, which is passion or activity, action. And that action is characterized by creativity, movement, distress. Good, because when one is in passion, one can become distressed. When one is in goodness, even one may be equally as active I'm talking in relationship to our spiritual pursuit, can be equally active, but they don't get caught up in passion. Passion means I want to see the result. And I want to be recognized. Not only do I want to see the result, I want to be recognized for that result. I want people to, say to me or say to others how spiritually advanced he or she is. That's what I was telling you. Lord Chaitanya said the 4 things really necessary to be totally inspired to continue with chanting is humility, tolerance, to not have a desire to be recognized for your spiritual pursuit, as some big spiritualist, and respect for all living beings. And with these 4 states of mind, one can continually be blessed with the ability to chant and to perform all acts of devotion in relationship to the Supreme. So, therefore, think when you read these texts and something comes up, think what it means. And if you don't know what it means, ask me or research on your own. What are the gunas? What's mode of goodness? What's mode of passion? And get a really good understanding of that, because that appears all throughout Bhagavad Gita and throughout all sacred texts. Patanjali mentions it in his Yoga Sutras, and all throughout various sacred texts, you'll hear references to gunas. So, according to the qualities one has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. We're going to do because we're being pushed by these influences of the material energy. And now it is our responsibility to be able to cultivate a purified, strong intelligence to direct that action as an offering to the Supreme. Text 6. One who restrains the senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense objects, certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. Now, that's an important principle. We are not pretenders. We are not looking for recognition. We don't want to be recognized for what we are doing. We are doing it because it is our act of love to the Supreme. Demonstrates when you make the endeavor, it's demonstrating to the Supreme Lord that I want, like George Harrison, one of the most very significant thing in his My Sweet Lord song. I really want to see you, Lord, but it takes so long, I know. I really want to be with you. So he's it's the call of the sincere soul. I want to be with you. I want to hear you. I want to see you, but it takes long because I'm not in a pure enough state where I can actually achieve darshan or uh, your association, put it that way. So one who restrains, so even if you are able to, control your diet, restrain yourself, don't do things which are detrimental in the strict sense in bhakti yoga. There's 4 principles that we follow. And the principle of being vegetarian, even in Yoga Sutras, in the Yamas section, Patanjali talks about ahimsa. And ahimsa, and Patanjali says, if you're not practicing these things, you can't be a yogi. So when I've read different interpretations of ahimsa, and maybe there might be some motivation behind that flavor of interpretation. But ahimsa literally means nonviolence. You cannot be involved in or the source of violence towards other living entities. And that means all living entities. And that's why one of the most significant restrictions that one follows when they're serious on the path of bhakti is to become ahimsic. That means no violence. Therefore, only vegetarian diet. Vegetarian diet, according to Ayurveda, is the most healthy diet. Vegetarian diet is the most healthy diet in relationship to our spiritual advancement. So, this is an important principle, and no intoxications. Ahimsa diet causes us to be influenced by sattva gun, or goodness. Goodness is the ideal state of mind to make advancement in bhakti, in spiritual path. Then there is rajas. Rajas means action, creation, eagerness to enjoy, have a multitude of desires to fulfill, etc. So, and then tamas, that means ignorance. That means not knowing or not wanting to know, to perform, to have a lifestyle which actually facilitates ignorance. And the way you eat, the things that you put in your body, like intoxications, are, drugs, alcohol, etc., are considered to put oneself strongly in tamagun. So that's there. And then, so we have no eating of meat, fish, or eggs, no cause of violence, no intoxications, no being deluded, and not being able to see things as they are, not to see things clearly. And so gambling. Gambling is another a deterrent obstacle that creates when you gamble, you are running risks and taking risks in a way that's not necessary, and also being the fourth principle is sex that is according to Bhagavad Gita, that is Krishna. And what does that mean? That means sex life according to principles. In other words, with one that we love, to be monogamous, to be with one person that we love. And it is a sacred act between two lovers. It's not just something that provides the most gratification that I can experience in this world with this body. That it has to transcend that level and go to the level of it is going to be an exchange, a deep commitment. One of the attributes of love is commitment. Another one is respect. Another one is trust. So love is a word. Love is a noun, but love is also a verb. Love is the emotion, but love is also action. When we love someone, we serve. And in bhakti, the whole definition of bhakti yoga is to act in loving service as an offering to the Supreme. It's called devotional service. And when we do that, and we maintain these regulations or these principles, we make an incredible amount of progress very quickly. And then it gets deeper and deeper and deeper as we maintain our commitment. So very important principles to understand. So we don't do sense restraint, for our own benefit. Krishna says here, don't be a pretender. Just do it properly, and do it with conviction. This is 7. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by the mind and begins karma yoga and Krishna consciousness without attachment, he is by far superior. He's in a superior position, a more advanced position. Text 8, perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. So Krishna is saying here, prescribed duty, this is essential in terms of, wanting to make advancement, wanting to experience connection with the Supreme. You do your duty, and you do it with conviction, and you do it over a long period of time. Text 9, work done as a sacrifice for the Lord, for Vishnu, has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, perform your prescribed duties for the satisfaction of the Lord, for the satisfaction of the Supreme. And in that way, you will always remain free from bondage. So Krishna is here. This is text 10. Let's see what time we're getting. Yeah, we're almost out of time, so I'll ask for questions. So Krishna is saying here, you got to work. This is a principle of being embodied, and how you work, in what state of mind you work, will be the cause of your freedom or the cause of your bondage. So he says, if you work and the results of your work are an offering to the Supreme, then that's the cause of your freedom. If you work for your own gratification, that is the cause of your bondage. Then you are under the laws of karma. And karma means action and reaction. So it will mean every action that you perform, there will be a subsequent reaction. Even if the action is in goodness, there'll be a reaction in goodness, but there'll also be rebirth. You come back to this material world and you can be trapped in it again. You can be bound to it again. There's no guarantee. If you take birth again, even if it's a pious birth, there's no guarantee that you won't fall prey to actions that'll cause bad reactions. And then we start another cycle only on the other side of the coin. So Krishna is saying here, act to please the Supreme. If you don't, you're still going to act. And that action is going to cause reaction. And that reaction means bondage to the cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease. We'll be bound in that cycle. So it's important to know. And Krishna even here mentions, it's not that you can stop your action. Because even in the process of stopping your action, you still have to eat. You still have to do things. So it's really not realistic to say I'm going to stop my action so I don't have any reaction. But every little thing you do under the laws of the material energy, there is reaction. Action, reaction. And the other set of laws are the spiritual laws. That Jagnarta Karmano Nyatra, that you are acting to please the Supreme. And there's no reaction to that. Whether you're eating, whether you are working, whether you are mating, whatever you are doing, with that kind of, that sense, that consciousness, it will become the cause of your freedom from the shackles of the material energy. So I'll stop there. So we did text 1 through 10. Does anyone have any observation, comment, etc., that you would like to answer, give us the benefit of what you're thinking? Anyone? Regarding the first 10 verses or anything that you may have had from previous classes. Any questions or comments?
Hi, Lakshmi.
Is that Trish?
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I don't have very much light.
No problem.
I wanted to thank you. I've been feeling very inspired, um, especially in the support circles, the women's circles that I hold. We talk about praying and people's devotion to God. And I've been inspired to talk about God more with people, which I used to avoid doing because, talking about religion with people can be dicey.
Right.
But I'm
Right.
I'm inspired by it, and I talk to them all the time now.
Wonderful. I'm glad that inspiration means coming from God. And that inspiration to talk about God. I think as long as you're not judgmental, that's a key point to get into a conversation about God. As long as you're not judgmental, but that you're encouraging. Like my wife, when she does her Ayurvedic counseling, she often brings that topic in. And, she's dealing with people from all religions and all levels of belief or non-belief, etc. But she brings it in a way which I admire in the sense that it is part of a healthy life.
Right.
It's a part of a healthy mindset. And to avoid it means that there is something going on. If you can't sit and have a conversation about God, you feel uptight about it or you want to hear it. Yeah, maybe you were traumatized by your religious upbringing. I was raised in the Catholic Church. I can't say I was traumatized, but I can say I wasn't inspired, by it. But the point being is, if there is such a strong adverse reaction to talking about God, and the importance, like you were bringing in your discussion, prayer, the importance of prayer. I mean, there's a researcher, I think his name is Larry Doss, and he wrote a few books on the scientific aspect of prayer, and how it has influence on the psyche. So, you know, I think it's something you should bring up as part of a healthy mode of living. And, just if you have sensitivity, to people and non-judgmental, I think it will be really a greater source of inspiration for you. And you will also inspire others that they can now talk about this taboo subject matter. I remember when I started to teach at yoga studios in New Jersey. Um, I was very blessed. I found some really good yoga studio owners who were really into giving their students, a full spectrum understanding of yoga, which meant the philosophical dimension of yoga too. But there was this one lady who just, she just used to say to me, I don't want to hear about God. Yoga is not about God. Obviously she had some experience that was either traumatizing or greatly disappointing, but she would make an effort, a conscious effort, not to speak about God, in the context of yoga. And you have to be sensitive to that. You have to be sensitive to someone who comes from a tradition that espouses my way or the highway. My way is the only way, and you can't talk about any other approach to God. You have to be sensitive to that. My wife and I found that out. We went to a seminar on medicine and spirituality, and it was a cover for Born Again Christianity. So that was not so fun for me, because, of course, I have a big mouth and I try to present things that are more universal, not just strictly one path. But I mean, I applaud you for doing that in your support groups, and I applaud you and I encourage you to continue to do that. And the more you study Gita, and more you develop a perspective which is influenced by the Bhagavad Gita, the easier you will find it to be, because the Gita speaks universal wisdom, universal truth. And what does the universal truth means? It can affect anybody and everybody at any time, no matter of culture, no matter of race, no matter of whatever their religious upbringing. I've seen that in my 53 years in Bhakti Yoga, people coming from all kinds of backgrounds, heavy duty atheists to born again Christianity or Islam, or any one of those paths that are really exclusive of any other path. So I've seen people be touched, because most people are um, seekers. It's just that they've got bad experience. Prabhupada gives a nice purport in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. He said that people don't pursue spirituality because of fear, anger, or attachment. Fear, he defines, I'll give just a nutshell definition. Fear means that you are cultivating a relationship with the Supreme Personality. But in this material world, you may not have good experiences with relationships. So the whole notion of the goal of your yoga process is to cultivate a love with another personality, albeit the supreme personality, scares people. You know, I haven't had good experience with loving relationships, a person may say. And that may cause them not to pursue their self-discovery, their journey of self-discovery. Another thing is anger. Anger comes from the the point that everyone is promoting their exclusive way. You know, Jesus is the only way. It's either Allah or the sword. You have to be born in a Jewish womb. I mean, there's all this kind of exclusivity attached to paths, whether it be the path as followed by Jesus, or the path as followed by Muhammad, or the path as followed by Moses. You know, all of these things are causing anger in people. So that will stop them. Like this woman that I'm telling you about in New Jersey who didn't want to hear anything about God and yoga. For her, yoga meant the asanas, bas, finished. She had no desire to pursue anything beyond that. And even she was, a known yoga teacher, had practiced for some years. That was the conclusion that she came to. So thank you for sharing with us that your inspiration, your enthusiasm, and I hope I bless you to continue on that journey and to receive more and more inspiration in that regard.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else have anything they would like to share with us about their own realizations and what is causing? Let's pose this question. What is causing your inspiration, or what is causing your hesitation? Trish shared with us what she's doing, which is causing her inspiration. Anyone else can tell us? If you're feeling inspired, what are you doing? Share with us what you're doing that's causing your inspiration. Anyone? Srihari, would you like to share, or Jai
Yeah,
Krishna?
my my inspiration comes from association with other devotees, most specifically, and and attending classes. That's where my inspiration comes from, especially other devotees.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's knowledge. You see, when we have doubts about our spiritual path, am I doing the right thing, or do I really have to follow like this? When doubts are there, when we're assailed by doubts, what gets rid of those doubts is knowledge. So if you're making the effort to obtain knowledge about your spirituality, when that mind, which has been conditioned for decades to be the enjoyer and to motivate you to do everything so that you can enjoy, and then when all of a sudden you're hearing about service to God and give to God first and foremost, and it's an offering, the mind's going to rebel, and you need knowledge to put down the rebellion. So and that's why I feel it's my service to offer these classes, just to share whatever I've been blessed with by Prabhupada's grace with others. And I see if even one person becomes inspired, then I feel it's totally a success and totally worthwhile. So thank you, Srihari, for sharing with us that. How about you, Anuradha, Angelica? Anything you would like to share with us in that regard? Your own inspiration?
Hi, everybody. Um, Actually, I was thinking that um, even find an enjoyment on the service not necessarily needs to be like effort, like something that we have to be obligated or force, or we have to do it. I think it's just we can find enjoyment in doing that service and the happiness of just doing it, because that's how I feel when I serve. I I feel my soul fulfilled and happy. So I find that even the service, it can be enjoyable.
Absolutely. I mean, that is our nature. When we find our nature, I mean, that's what yoga is. When Patanjali says yoga's chitta britti nirodha, that when you calm your mind, then you are in your nature.
Mhm.
So that you're performing service. I see it even with my son, 10-year-old boy. He loves to serve. He loves to serve out prasadam. We were in the temple in New Vrindavan. He was serving out the Charnamrita. It's a natural thing for him. And like you were saying, Angelica, when you do it, it's natural. And when you're in that, you feel fulfilled. When you're doing something that you're naturally inclined to, and it is part of your essential being to serve, is part of your essential being. When you meet someone and fall in love with someone, immediately that desire to serve that person arises, right?
Mhm.
Immediately you feel like I want to serve. How do I serve? Oh, maybe I'll cook or take them out on a date or bring them flowers or even kind words. There's so many ways that you serve in a relationship. And when you find someone that you really develop feelings for, it's natural and you enjoy giving of yourself to others. Yeah, so that's very good. Thank you. Gokula Priya, you want to share something with us?
Hare Krishna, everybody.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm agreeing with Sri Hari. I'm agreeing with Angelica, and then with you, Lakshmi Prabhu, that inspiration on many levels. And the serving, it's also when Angelica was saying, it really syncs with me. Inspiration by serving people and then feeling the happiness when you serve somebody and seeing the happiness on the faces of other people. That's also really inspiring, that you're sharing that love with them and you feeling that by seeing the expression of people, the happiness on their faces, the smile, the gratitude. You're not doing it to receive the gratitude. You're doing because you feel that your cup is full, and then it is so full that you want to give everybody that love, and that is inspiring, and you want to do more service. The service could be different on many levels based on the capacity of the person, and associating with devotees, like Sri Hari said, it's also very inspiring because you see how they serving. Somebody's cooking, somebody's singing, somebody's chanting, somebody's dancing, somebody's being with children. Everybody's serving. And it's also, again, we inspired to see how they serving in their capacity, in their ability to serve. And I'm really inspired to see how my guru, His Holiness Radha Swami, is serving people. Whenever he enters, it's like the sun is entering to the room and then shining to everybody and dissipating the darkness, no matter who is there. And then the present person, highly elevated or highly, doesn't matter. He is sharing that love with everybody without discriminating, like a sunshine is coming to, give that beautiful light spread all over the world. And that is really inspiring to see how much my guru is serving through the knowledge, through the love, and with so much, and being so humble at the same time. And I'm inspiring to see you, how you share your love and knowledge, and then whatever your guru to give you with other people. So there are many levels, and seeing how my son is communicating and sharing his knowledge on bhakti, on being vegetarian with common people. So it's a lot of many levels, as we can find even inspiration in the nature to see how birds can be meditating on one thing, and then there's so many things to be inspired. We when we want to be inspired, we can find many inspirations throughout the day on a daily basis. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing that. Wonderful. And I think what you said, the metaphor that you use is my cup is being filled, my cup is overflowing, and therefore I want to give. I think that exactly explains what's going on with Trish. Trish, you've been doing things, within the realm of bhakti, serving and hearing and chanting and doing things which is filling your cup. And the natural inclination is to, I got so much here, I want to share. And my cup runneth over, as Gokula Priya so aptly put it. And that's what we do, and that's why I do it. Maybe in my case, it's maybe just selfish, because when I offer the wisdom of Gita or whatever knowledge I can give or whatever inspiration I can give, and I see someone is touched by that, then there is no more pleasurable experience, and even science, psychology proves that people are happier when they give than when they receive. So all of you, I think, have been touched by the grace of the Supreme, by your sincere endeavors, and then it's manifesting in your life and your willingness to give, without any expectation for return. The more we do it with that kind of heart, that selflessness, which is a true sign of love, the more we don't have expectations of return. It's not like we want people to, oh, thank you for this, and thank you, and oh, you're so wonderful, and no. Even if you don't get a word of appreciation or gratitude, but you see it's having some effect on their life, that's enough. And that is, a true sign that your cup is being filled by the mercy of the Supreme, and your willingness to share your bounty, your abundance with others is and the beauty of the Prabhupada would say that there is no end, there is no limit to what's filling your cup. Like if I have a cup and I have a pitcher, there's a limit how much I can put into that cup, isn't it? I can keep going and going, but eventually the pitcher will be empty. But in love of God, there is no empty pitcher. The flow that's coming is continuous. It continually flows. And actually, it begs you to share, because your cup is so full, it's so overflowing, that really you're excited. I'm excited to go to a program, not to be entertained. Like I go to some ecstatic dance program or this or that. I really don't go, to have some entertainment, a night out on the town. I go because I think there is somebody here. There is somebody here that can be touched. Wherever they are, whatever they're doing it because they want, they have a journey of self-discovery, and they may not have fully realized it, or they may have only partially realized it, and it manifests in this approach, whatever. But I always go to whatever I go to, whatever it may be. It could be a birthday party, somebody's birthday party. It could be go visiting a family member. It does not matter. I always go knowing that there's a reason I'm here in this spot right now. And it's tied to my yoga, my service to Krishna. It's definitely tied. And like I said, if our cup is being filled constantly and is overflowing, that creates the desire to share. So thank you all. Your realizations and your sharing is really very, very enlivening for me, and I greatly appreciate hearing from you. And again, I'm always open for questions. If anything else comes up and you want to email me or message me on Facebook or whatever, please feel free to do so. But for now, you have a happy, healthy, and holy week. We continue our journey. Nishringadev's off to his next camp on Thursday, and then we're back home in Boca probably around Monday, I would think. So we look forward to seeing you, Trish, you, Sri Hari, you, Angelica, when we return. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.